Right now, though, we do want to turn our attention back to the tragedy in Texas. Again, 14 children, young students, and a teacher were killed at an elementary school. It happened during a mass shooting.
Joining us now as we process this is psychiatrist Dr. Michael Lardon. Dr. Lardon, among the many different groups of people you work with are military, and I can only think that this is similar to military trauma. People, all of us, witnessing this and seeing loss on a mass scale.
I mean, it's really, in a way, worse than military trauma because folks in the armed forces, they know that this kind of thing can happen. I mean, that's part of the job. This is really unpredictable. It's arbitrary. So it really creates a tremendous fight or flight response in all of us. You know, we don't know. We send our kids to school. Are they in danger? As parents, the kids themselves wonder if they're in danger. So there's no predictability. So it really is a horrific event. And because we've had so many in our society, we really have to take a look at it. Why are these things happening and how can we mitigate?
Dr. Lardon, I want to ask you about this because it has been no secret that this country has a severe mental health crisis, only made worse by the pandemic. We've acknowledged that, but what do we do about it remains the question. So in your opinion, what needs to be done?
Well, I mean, I think first off, it's important to know that the mass shootings really bifurcate into two groups in contrast to 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it was always kind of a mental health issue. Now we have hate crimes and we have mental health. So our recent shooting, which was more of a hate crime, those folks that commit those crimes really don't fit in the DSM, you know, which is the guidebook for psychiatrists with psychiatric diagnoses, because the microculture around them either overtly or covertly supports that kind of behavior, similar to, you know, Al-Qaeda when someone's a martyr and they take their life and they kill people in doing so. In addition, though, we have the mental health issues. This one, you know, the little bit that I learned, I think in the classroom, 90% Hispanic, but this man, he actually shot his grandmother, right? So that probably doesn't sound like a hate crime. That sounds like someone who was very disturbed, very dark, very depressed, maybe psychotic, and that doesn't just happen overnight. So there had to be signs, you know, forewarning that this person was getting sick for quite some time. Unfortunately, you know, we're not great at picking those things up. But I think we need to do a better job, certainly within the schools, in screening people that are having burgeoning mental health issues. And as you point out, we're seeing more and more of this because of the recent pandemic and its adverse effect on general mental health.
Dr. Lardon, second large mass shooting in just a couple weeks. I know myself, I know other people I work with, tremendously upset at this point. I mean, I find myself going from numb to sad to fury. When do people who are watching this, not directly impacted, when do we need to look at ourselves and say, I need some help in dealing with this because I'm feeling things that I don't want to feel?
Well, that's a great point. I mean, people need to process trauma. They need to, you know, talk about it, try to understand it. And one of the problems with this kind of, you know, terrible event is it's hard to understand why someone would do this. So, you know, to your point, you know, the bottom line is there, you do want to talk about it, and you probably want to talk about it with a mental health professional that really has some understanding how these things can happen. Otherwise, what happens is we see hypervigilant behavior, meaning you drive by a school and you have tremendous anxiety, avoidance behavior. We're afraid to send our kids to school, and it can cause an irreparable, you know, damage in our society. So it's happening so much now that it really is a paramount issue for us to create task force to really understand why these mass shootings happen and how we can address them and mitigate them.
Yeah, the conversation's been happening a long time. Little action on either end of all of this. Dr. Michael Lardon, local psychiatrist, we appreciate your expertise on the topic.
My pleasure. Thank you.